a long-form horror story in parts. You ever seen a smile that looked like it was wearing someone's face instead of owning it? That's the first thing I thought when she moved in. Ava Lambert, 35, real estate agent. Single. She signed the lease without asking questions. Didn't blink at the missing history, the strange address, 0 Orchard Lane. Not 1, not 2, 0. And for a place as old as the Lamplight Residences, you'd think someone would have noticed the floor plan didn't add up. Part 1. The girl in 3B who never left. Before Ava arrived, Unit 3B was a ghost. People didn't move out. They disappeared out. Mail piled up. Lights flickered in patterns. Neighbors whispered like the walls were listening. Maintenance refused to enter. Every time they tried, the door would refuse the key. Like it had preferences. So, when Ava waltzed in, key turning on the first try, and announced she'd be redecorating with all mirrors, we just stood in the hallway stunned. She smiled at us like a waitress faking interest and said, "I've always liked living in places with history. They talk to you if you're patient." We should have run, but the building already knew her name. Part 2. The things the light won't touch. First night, the power flickered in a perfect circle around her unit. Every other apartment stayed dark. Only 3B glowed. Through her window, we could see her arranging candles, but they weren't casting shadows. They were pulling them in. A week later, we started hearing the tap, tap, tap coming from her pipes, her drains, her mirrors. 3 taps, pause, 2 taps, long pause, then 1, like it was spelling something or counting down. She didn't complain, she smiled more, the kind of smile that stretches skin until it forgets its flesh. Part 3. Her shadow started showing up early. We only noticed it because of the hallway light. It's motion activated, flicks on when someone walks by, but it started turning on before Ava arrived. 5 seconds before, her shadow would glide past, then her body would follow, like it was trying to catch up. Sometimes it didn't. One night, Mr. Temple on 3C swears he saw her shadow waiting at his door. No Ava, just the shadow, pressed up against the peephole, breathing. He left the next morning, didn't say goodbye, didn't even close his door, just ran. Part 4. The letters she never mailed. We found them after her apartment went quiet, 4 weeks in, and she vanished. No word, no lights, no mirrors, just silence, except the sound of her phone ringing from inside the unit. We never saw her leave. The hallway camera caught her walking in, but sure, never out. The landlord pried the door open. Inside, nothing. No furniture, no clothes, no mirrors. Just 24 letters neatly stacked on the floor, all addressed the same. To whom it may concern, I don't think I ever made it out of the apartment. I think the thing pretending to be me doesn't know it's not me. I think I died in the mirror on the 3rd night. Please tell someone I'm still here. Please tell her she's me now, and she never blinks. Part 5. The unit that wasn't a unit. After Ava disappeared, the building did something new. It adjusted. Unit 3B stopped appearing on the mailboxes, stopped being listed in the system, stopped showing up on the blueprint, but we still saw the door. We heard it open at night. We heard something scraping the mirror from the inside, and once, just once, we saw her again, walking down the hall, not quite touching the floor, and we realized the Ava we met was never alive to begin with, or maybe she was, but she died before she signed the lease. Part 6. The manager's note. A month later, a new tenant moved in. Didn't ask about the missing numbers. Didn't blink at the address, 0 Orchard Lane. He smiled like someone trying on a human expression for the first time. Same as Ava. We approached the building manager, finally. Asked if she knew what was going on. She just smiled, slipped us a note, and left. It read, "We forgot to tell her she died here, but it doesn't matter. The building remembers for her. The lease doesn't expire when you move, only when the mirror does." 2. The whistling in the intercom. The new tenant's name was Miles Heller, mid-40s, teacher, quiet, with that air of someone who wants to disappear without making it a thing. He took Unit 3D, which technically shouldn't exist. The hallway ends before the door, but the door's there anyway. Half inside the wall, half inside something else. He didn't ask, not when the power only worked after midnight, not when his unit came pre-installed with 7 intercoms. The rules he wasn't given. On the first night, Miles recorded a voicemail to his sister. Place is strange, but it's cheap. Not bad, though I swear the hallway's longer at night. Also, someone keeps whistling through the intercoms. Not a tune, just shapes. Hard to explain. Feels like I've heard it before. She never got the message. His phone melted. Not caught fire, not overheated. Melted. Like wax. It left behind a whisper in the voice memo app. Don't tell anyone or we'll have to remember for you. The man with the upside-down shadow. On day 4, Miles met a neighbor, friendly guy, big coat, smelled like dust. They spoke in the stairwell. But Miles noticed something. The man's shadow didn't match his movements. It moved in reverse. When he raised his hand, the shadow lowered it. When he turned to leave, the shadow stared at Miles and then it smiled. That night, Miles heard knocking from his window, but he lived on the 3rd floor and there's no balcony. 3. The intercom began to talk back. The whistling stopped. Now it was a voice, garbled but intentional. First, it just repeated things Miles said in the apartment. I'll make coffee. I'm going to bed. Don't look in the mirror. Then it started answering questions before he asked them. Intercom 3, yes, you should lock the bedroom door. Intercom 1, no, the neighbor isn't alive anymore. Intercom 5, stop thinking about the window. It's listening. He tried to unplug them. They bled. Ash Ivy, the woman in unit null. Miles tried to report it, called the building manager, but the voice that answered was his own, only older. It gave him a unit number. Speak with the woman in unit null. Null wasn't a typo. It was scratched into the wall. He knocked. No answer. When he turned to leave, the door behind him was open. Inside, Ava Lambert, not as we knew her, older, smiling with the wrong number of teeth. She said, I was the welcome committee. You were supposed to arrive 10 years ago. Time's loose here. Sometimes the elevator drops into a different year. Miles backed away. She didn't follow. Instead, she whispered, whatever you do, don't play the tape in the intercom. It rewinds you. V, the dream that kept going after he woke up. He dreamed of drowning in dry air, of doors that opened into his own lungs, of the building eating floor plans to grow new rooms. He woke up gasping, but the dream kept happening. When he looked outside, the sky was inside out. Clouds flowing downward, birds flying in loops. He tried to leave, packed a bag, opened his front door. Behind it, another version of himself. Taller, feral, smiling. It handed him a letter that said, we had to split the rent. You kept looking for ways out. We're inside now, and it's so much better. The hallway that remembers. That was the last time anyone saw Miles. 3D no longer has a door. It's just a seam in the drywall, warm to the touch. If you lean your ear against it, you'll hear footsteps circling a room that shouldn't exist, whistling in a tune no one can repeat. And Miles softly saying, it's not a building, it's a story, and we're the unreliable narrators. Part 3, the ceiling fan that counted down. The new tenant was named Elspeth Ryder, retired archivist, wore gloves year-round. She spoke like someone who spent years cataloging the names of the forgotten. She took Unit 4F, which wasn't available. It was walled up, not under renovation, not condemned, just covered. Plaster over the doorframe, painted like the hallway. You'd never know it was there unless you listened carefully, because if you did, you'd hear the ceiling fan ticking like a clock, counting, not seconds. Movements. The history that wrote itself. Elspeth had a thing for records, spent her days digging through building blueprints, tenant logs, anything she could get. But every night, the files changed. Names she'd never read before appeared, whole families who'd supposedly lived in Unit 4F over decades, and every single one had the same move-out date. October 33rd. She chalked it up to typos until she saw it printed on her own lease and in her own handwriting. The room without light bulbs, 4F didn't accept lamps. Every bulb she screwed in would flicker twice and crack. Even the glow from her phone screen dimmed inside, but she could see. Only in grayscale, no color, no warmth, just a room drained of spectrum as if light was allowed, but emotion was not. In the kitchen was a mirror that fogged from the outside, and on foggy nights it showed things she hadn't done yet, things she didn't want to do. 3. The ceiling fan that counted down, I said. At first, it was normal, old fan, 4 blades, rusted chain. Then she noticed the blade tips were numbered, 4, 3, 2, 1. Each morning, one blade would stop spinning, like it was keeping score. By night 4, the last blade stood still. The room got cold, her breath turned to white moths. And the fan began ticking again, but this time in reverse. Sharp before, the visitation room. She found it behind the closet, a thin crawl space that opened into a perfectly clean room. One metal chair, one table, a tape recorder. The walls pulsed like something was breathing behind them. The tape recorder clicked on by itself. Hello, Elspeth, we've missed you. We've saved all your thoughts. Don't worry, we never delete you. Then it played her own voice, sobbing, saying, I shouldn't have remembered. I shouldn't have looked it up. I was supposed to catalog, not restore. She hadn't said that yet, but she would. Rewriting. Her notebooks betrayed her. One day, she opened her journal to find entries she never wrote. Today, I screamed into the drain until something screamed back. The wallpaper changes its pattern to follow my breathing. I think I'm supposed to become someone who deserves to be forgotten. Neighbors stopped making eye contact. The building got quieter, not silent, just listening, as if waiting for her to finish writing the version of herself it preferred. The floor plan that looped I. On the final week, she opened her front door and found her own apartment. But older, covered in vines, cracked walls, it smelled like mildew and perfume she hadn't worn in years. She stepped back, slammed the door, waited, opened it again. This time it was her childhood kitchen. She heard her father's voice, but he died 30 years ago. And he was whispering, we kept your room like you left it, even after you never came home. She closed the door, the ceiling fan spun again, all 4 blades, but now there was a 5th, numbered 0. 7, the exit that erases her. When Elspeth finally tried to leave, she did it quietly. No notes, no boxes, no announcement, just keys in her pocket and a bag in her hand. She made it to the elevator, pressed L. The screen blinked, then read, then memory in progress, and then move-in confirmed. The elevator opened to Unit 4F, new paint, fresh carpet, welcome letter on the counter. Inside, a new voice whispered from the mirror. We forgot to tell her she died here, so she keeps coming back to remember, and we keep redecorating her grief.